Hello guys and welcome to the new tutorial. So today I'll show you how you can create this animation. This is character animation. I'll show you how to work with timing. I'll show you how to also create the character animations and also how to work with the scenes. I'm super excited, so let's get started. This illustration was provided by DrawKit. DrawKit is a super cool website where you can download free illustrations and then you can animate. You receive a 20% discount with a special code. This code will be in the description below. So if you want to purchase annual subscription, you can have a 20% discount. However, this website offers a lot of free illustrations and free collections, and they're super useful if you're like me and you can't draw or you can't design. You are just passionate about animation. I'll definitely recommend it. This is from the DrawKit website, and you can just download the whole collection, and then you will receive the SVG files and the PNG files, and you can then import them into After Effects and you can create your beautiful animations. The reason why I really like this website is because it's on collections and not on single illustrations. And if you're working on an explainer video, for example, you can write the topic and then you see a bunch of collections with illustrations that you can use. The illustrations that I use for this tutorial is from the paid collections. However, as I mentioned, there are a lot of free collections that you can use. Okay, so when you download the collection, you see a bunch of different folders. And in our case, I would like to open the AI file, and I'll open Illustrator, and then we'll separate the files and organize the file from there. Okay, so this is how the file looks when I open it in Illustrator. So I would like to select this one. So this is the illustration that we're going to be animating. And then I'm going to click Control N to create a new file, and I will paste this illustration here. So the first thing that I'm noticing is that everything is on one layer. So therefore, what we have to do would be to separate these layers so that we can then import the file into After Effects and start animating. So as you know, in animation, everything that will be moving needs to be on a separate layer. And therefore, I will just open this whole group, and then I'm going to click on this hamburger menu here and then click Release to Layers Sequence. So now all these layers are released, and then I can group them and then I can name them after that. I will start with the background. So these trees that are in the background, also this one. And by the way, I'm holding Shift so I can select multiple layers at the same time. And I'll select all these shapes that are part of the background and right click, group, and I'll name that background. And then I just drag and drop this here and then here. So that would be my background. So let me just hide the other layers just so I can see if these are all the background layers. And then I want to select all these elements. So these elements will be part of the foreground. I need to have a separate layer with them. So I'm selecting everything and this flower, and then I'm gonna group it. Yes, great. And drag and drop it here. And I'm gonna name that foreground. Great. Now I want to drag and drop the line above the group. So this is this line here. I'm gonna name that line. And then I am going to do the same with these layers, the flower and this other shape. I'm gonna group them, drop them here, and that's foreground and flower. Great. Let me just hide and unhide it so I can make sure this is the right layer. Great. So now if I hide and unhide this layer, I can see that on this layer I have these two characters. Now, what we have to do would be to, again, separate these layers and organize them. I'll start with the shoe of this character. I'm gonna group it, and then I am going to bring it up here. So I want it to be outside the group here. Then I'm gonna do the same with this shoe. And this one, I'm gonna bring it up here. And great. So now I'm going to speed up this process because essentially I'll be doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, great. So I'm ready and I want to show you how this file looks in Illustrator before we import it into After Effects. So I separated everything. I'll start with this character. We have the forearm. We also have the arm. Keep in mind that here in this illustration, the arm is part of the body layer. However, that won't be a problem because we won't be animating this hand. Then I have the other forearm. Here I have this leg, the shoe, this shoe, the other leg, and then I have you know, the head and the nose, eyes, mouth, ear, the hair and the back hair on separate layers. For the other character, I have the head on a separate layer, the head too, again the nose, the eyes, the mouth, the ear, and then we have the neck, the body, the forearm, the magnifying glass, the arm, and then the legs, this part. So there is one layer, this one, that's like his pelvis. He's just, like this is just a shape that looks a bit weird, but we're going to fix that in After Effects later. And the shoes, of course, and the backpack. So now let's jump in After Effects and let's animate. When you import your file, make sure you click on Import As and then click Composition, retain layer sizes, and then import. Next, I'm going to click Ctrl Y and create a solid white layer that I'm going to bring down here because there is no background, and I am going to hide it. Now, click Ctrl A to select everything, and then click on this little icon here so that you can make sure if you're doing any zoom ins, your illustration is not blurred. Next, I'm going to hide the background too, and I would like to create some pre-compositions for the two characters. Now, let me select these layers, which are actually the character. Right click, pre-compose, and I'm going to name that male character. Great. Make sure you click on this icon again, lock this layer for now, and then select all the other layers, right click, pre-compose, female character. Bam. Okay, great. Now let's start animating. The first thing that I'm going to do would be to create some shapes, because if I isolate the body, as you can see, there's a weird shape. So if I decide to rotate the body, for example, like this, there are a few problems here and here, as you can see. I will click on this icon here, the little dot, and on the pen tool here, I'm going to zoom in, and I am going to draw a little shape. It should be more like this. Kind of a square shape, but like with round edges. Okay, so here, I am going to just change the fill color to this color, and then I will click on this so I can make sure everything is fine. Yes, the only thing is that I want to bring this new shape layer below everything else because I don't want it to cover the legs. So the next thing would be for me to create like a shape layer from the body. And it's for the same reason. As you can see, these stripes, they end here. I want to extend them, and I want to make sure that if I do any rotation, if I decide to rotate the body, it looks good and it doesn't have any problems or like weird edges or something like that. So let me delete this one. Next, I'm going to open up the body contents and the groups, and I'm going to isolate the body. Then I'm going to grab these two dots and bring them down here. These two, and bring them down here. Great. Don't worry if the shape looks a bit weird. And now it's time to do some parenting. First, we have the foreground, the flower, and the leaves, and we won't be animating these elements. So I'm going to hide them and lock them, and then I'm going to click on this icon so I don't see my hidden layers. Great. So now the forearm would be parented to the arm, The arm will be parented to the body. The magnifying glass will be parented to the forearm. I would like to also hide the shoes and the legs. We won't need the shoes. We won't be animating them. So let's first hide them, lock them, and then click on this icon again. Great. The neck would be parented to the body, the backpack to the body, and the neck and the backpack, I won't be animating them, so I don't need them. Now, we have the face layer. So the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and the ear, and the head will be parented to the head. So we need to rename that. This is head. And then the head would be parented to the body. Amazing. And there's one layer that doesn't have a name here. Let me see what that is. Oh, okay, so that's the pelvis. So, okay. And then I would like to parent it to the body and hide it in this shape too. That will be parented to the body, and I'm gonna hide it. And then at this point, only the body should be unlinked, so without any parent layer. The next thing that I'm going to do would be to click Control K, and I'm going to make this composition shorter. So I would like to make it 10 seconds. Right now it's too long. It's over a minute and it messes with my composition. The next thing we're going to do would be to rig the arm. So one thing that I'm noticing here is that the forearm is on one layer with the head. However, I would like to separate them and so that I can have a good rig. So I would click on the pen tool here and I'm going to create a mask. So like this. So this would be the forearm. And then I'm going to Control D, duplicate it, and I'm gonna click Enter, and I'm gonna name that hand. And I will click M and delete the mask. And for the hand, I would like to cut it from here to here. Great. Let me see. Okay, great. And now if we start rigging the, the arm, we'll have a very, very weird rig. So do you see this? Yeah, it doesn't look good. Great. So what we have to do would be to create a new shape. So I'm going to create an ellipse that covers everything from here to here. That would serve as our anchor point from where the hand would be rotating. When you create a shape, if you have the anchor point mover, just click on this icon here. That will change your anchor point to be at the center. And if you don't have it, just click Y and make sure you change your anchor point and move it at the center. Now let's resize this circle a bit, and I want to make sure it covers. Yeah, so great. I think this looks good. Now let's change the fill color. Great, and now let's test it. So change the parenting from the head, from the arm to this shape here. Let's now just rotate this a bit so we can see if it looks good when animated, because the hand would be rotating. Okay, so do you see how there's a weird shape here? So I can see the circle. I don't want that. So I would unparent the hand from the shape. And then I would remove, like I would unisolate the forearm. So I can make some changes here. And I think I'm going to move this circle a little bit like this. Okay. Now let's repeat this process. Okay, great. So now that we are ready with the little circle and the hand, let's change the anchor point of the forearm. I'm going to click Y and drag this thing, I think, here. Next, let me isolate the arm and then let's test it. Actually, just notice that this shape is not parented to the forearm. It should be parented to the forearm. Okay, so this doesn't look good. I am going to change again the anchor point to be somewhere around here. Yeah, no, this won't work. So we would need to play a little bit with this element. Okay, so I think I'm ready. This position of the arm doesn't look very good, but don't worry, we won't be really using a lot of extreme poses, so I think this is fine. And next, I would like to repeat the same process of creating a little circle to be parented to the arm, because the arm looks a bit cut off here and it won't look good when animated. So let's create a little circle that covers this part, I think here. And then actually, because I'm not sure if that would work, I would like to bring this below the arm, and this little circle needs to be the same color as the shirt. So let's change the fill color here. Okay, great. And let's just see if there are any problems here. No, I think this is fine. Just now parent the arm to this element here, and this element should be parented to the body. Let's make sure that the circle, the anchor point of the circle is at the center. And now let's test it. Okay, I think this looks good. Now I'll be rigging the arm with Duik. If you don't have Duik, you can download it for free. And it's very important when you rig a character to start with the hand. However, in our case, the hand is parented to this layer. So I'm gonna grab this layer, then I'm gonna grab the forearm, and finally I'm going to select this layer. So the circle that the head is parented to, and then I'm gonna click on rigging, and then I'm gonna click auto rig. Okay, awesome. And now let's see how this arm performs. Okay, good. I want to parent the magnifying glass to the new layer that was created, like the handle that was created from Duik, because I want to make sure that if I rotate the hand, the magnifying glass is rotating with the hand. And then after that, I am going to just hide it. I won't need it. Next, I'm going to hide everything from like the nose to the ears and also the head. And now I want to change the anchor points of the body and the head. The anchor point of the body is already changed, but I want it to be somewhere around here. Yeah, I think here is fine. And then I'm going to select the head, and I'm going to move the anchor point somewhere around here. So somewhere in the middle of the neck, like here. Now let's add some keyframes. I'm going to add rotation keyframe for the body and rotation keyframe for the head. For the body, I would like to also add position keyframe. For the arm, I would like to add rotation and position, and then I'm going to select everything and click U so I can see only the keyframes that I added. Then I'm going to click F9 to ease them, and now we'll start animating. So when you start animating, it's good to have not to start the animation from the first frame. It's good to give it like to give it some time to breathe before the animation starts. So I am going to move all these keyframes to about, I would say, a lot of people like to start from the second mark. In our case, I'm just going to start from the 12th frame. The idea is to have the body forward, right? Like leaning forward so that he can see the little flower from the magnifying glass. However, in animation, there is something very important that's called anticipation. So if you don't have anticipation, it would look really weird for the character just standing normal and then out of nowhere just leaning forward. He needs to go backwards a little bit so that then he can lean forward. And this way the animation and the whole movement looks way more realistic. Go to about, I would say, and we might need to change the timing later, but for now, let's go to about 1 second. And then let's change the rotation of the body to be 3. So now let's change the rotation of the head too. So I would say maybe 5. I think 5 is good. So let's just play this. Okay, I think this looks good. And now let's go to about 1 second, 11 frames and change the rotation of the body to be -3. Next, I'm going to just change the rotation of the head a little bit. I'm going to make it minus 1. I think -1 is good. Okay, let's see how this looks now. Okay, so I'd like to change these keyframes a little bit. If you have the keyframe Wigman, I would recommend you download it. This is from the Mr. Horse plugin, the Animation Composer 3, and it's free and it's super useful. So what I'm going to do would be to select all these keyframes and just make sure this is at 60, and then I'm going to click on this icon, and then let's see how this looks. So this makes the whole, okay, I think this is a bit too much. Let's just change this to 40. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, I think this is good. And now let's animate the arm too. So I'm gonna make sure like my keyframes start here. And then I'm going to move this about, I would say here, but then I would need to make some adjustments to the body. So let's make the rotation of the body -7. Let's try -7. And the rotation of the head to be, yes, well, I think -1 is good. And then I would change the position. Okay, I think now it's better. We might need to adjust the timing again. Let's select all the keyframes. Actually, I'm going to change this to 50 because I think it will look better. Okay, great. Now I would like to change the timing, as you mentioned. So I want these, like the anticipation, to be a bit faster, and then it can be a bit slower. Okay, great. But looking at it now, I think I want to change the rotation of the body again. I want to make it -13. And I want to change the position of the arm. And I think the head is good. I just want him to lean forward a bit more because I think it looks better that way. Okay, amazing, great. So now give it a bit of time to breathe before starting the other movement. So he'll be looking here, and then I think 2 seconds, so 8 frames is fine. I'm gonna add keyframes for everything. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit. And then this time I won't really need anticipation. I don't think I will need it. I'm gonna move the body, change rotation of the body to be, I think -6 is fine. Then let's change the arm. So I want him to now, okay, and then change the rotation. So I want him now to look at the flower. So he'll be, yeah, looking at the flower. And then the head, I think, yeah, I think 14 is fine. But again, we might need to change the timing. Okay, good. I'm going to select these keyframes and make sure this is at 50, and then click on this icon here. Great. Okay, amazing. And then I think at this time, a bit before the 4-second mark, I'm going to add keyframes again. And next, to about, I would say 5 seconds, I'm going to copy and paste the first keyframes for everything. But then again, I would like the body to go backwards before he ends his position the way he started it, because we need to have a loop. Okay, great. Now let's just change move these keyframes of the arm, and I'm gonna offset them actually. I think, yeah, I think this is better. Let's see. Okay, great. And I think just this time the head can go up a bit, and then it can go down. Okay. This is a bit too much. So actually, let's make it, yeah, I think this is good. Now, again, I'm going to use the keyframe movement. Let's see how this looks. Okay, great. 2 things that I'm noticing is that first, these keyframes for the arm, they're a bit, it's a bit weird. So I think I'm just gonna, I think this timing is fine. The timing is fine here. Great. And then just here, again, the rotation can be, I think 6 is fine. And next, let's offset the rotation keyframes of the head, so we can have a little bit of cartoony effect, and it looks, I think it looks more realistic that way. Great. And the final thing that we are going to do with this character would be to create the boach effect and the magnifying glass effect. And the way we're going to do that would be by drawing a simple circle. Okay, so now we have this circle. Make sure the anchor point is at the center. And then, obviously, the hand and like the magnifying glass is moving when this layer is moving. So when the handle is moving. So let's add position keyframes here. So this is the starting position. Then here, I want it to be here. So make sure it covers the magnifying glass at all times. That's the reason why we are doing this. Great. Now here will be here at this time, and then at this time that will be the previous keyframe, and then this one that would be the first keyframe. Okay, let's see how that looks now. Okay, a few things that I'm noticing is that first of all, do you see here that the circle is not covering the magnifying glass anymore. One of the reasons why might be because of the other layer has the keyframe Wigman keyframes, but also it might be because we need to add a little arc here. So let me see how this looks now. Okay, and then same here. I think I'm just gonna, yeah, add another keyframe, and I think that's fine. Let's see how this looks. Okay, amazing. Now let's add an adjustment layer. Control Alt and Y to add an adjustment layer, and then search for the bolt effect. Great, add it here. Copy the position keyframes of this circle that you created, and then add the keyframe for the center. Then click U, and then click on the bolt center, and then add the keyframes that you copied. You can hide this layer now. And now let's just make some adjustments to the layer so that we can make sure it fits inside this circle. And then I want to move the adjustment layer to be below the magnifying, the magnifying glass. And then I also want to move the flower and the leaves to be below the adjustment layer. Okay, let's see how this looks. Great. Well, I think we're ready with this character. Now let's animate the lady. Okay guys, I'm going to stop this tutorial here because it's getting a bit too long. In part 2, we are going to animate the second one, so stay tuned.